And as you know, I'm just doing these live streams. I'm not going live every Monday, but every few weeks. And I think it's probably been 2 weeks since I've gone live on here. And I want to talk about something which everything I talk about is either things that come up for most of the clients I work with as a counsellor and a coach. Some of it is personal experience, some of it is just what's affecting lots of people. It varies, but this is just something called the ladder approach to achieving goals and reducing overwhelm. So this approach, I can't remember if I've either read it somewhere, if I've made it up myself. Sometimes when you're working with lots of different approaches, I can't always remember where I heard it or where I got it from, but this is an approach that I've used with a lot of my clients, especially with my coaching clients, and I've used it myself as well. So many times when people get overwhelmed, I'm just going to talk to you first of all about some of the reasons, the most common reasons people get or feel overwhelmed. One, it's because they put things off. So if you procrastinate, what that means is that tasks that you should be doing, you put them off, and not on purpose. Sometimes people just don't have the energy to do it. Sometimes people just think it's not important enough. Sometimes people just can't be bothered. It's not usually laziness. To me, I think people will say that sometimes. They say, I'm just being lazy. That's a cop-out, because it's not usually laziness. It's other things. It's because, one, as I've said, you don't feel you can do the task. You think you're going to fail at it, so you put it off. You purposely or intentionally procrastinate. You could get that thing done, but you scroll on your phone instead. There's lots of reasons, but usually that is the thing that makes people feel overwhelmed, because when you don't do the task and you don't stay on top of it, then all of a sudden it becomes a bigger task to deal with. So another reason is it could be because you have some ADHD, or you have other conditions which mean it's hard for you to focus. People with whose brains work differently, and that could also be if you've got mental health, depression, anxiety. It's not as simple as saying that you don't want to do these things. It's just you physically can't. Your brain is saying to you, the only energy I have today is for me to be able to get through the day in the best way possible. So you're not going to have time, or you're not going to have the ability to be able to get on top of certain things, because you can just about function. Also, if you've got ADHD, you're going to try different. There is, loads of theories that back that up. Your brain is going to be trying to do lots of things at once. And that's another thing. All this stuff about multitasking, I think, me personally, I don't believe in the idea of multitasking. I think that it's possible, and people are going to disagree, and you can disagree. But if you're doing 7 tasks at once, none of those tasks, or a majority of them, are not being done properly. You're just doing lots of things, but they're not all being done well. So to me, it's better to focus. Unless you're a parent and you've got to get your children to school and you've got to do certain things, you have to multitask, because otherwise you'd be there all day. But you already know that if you're, getting your child ready, doing breakfast, doing that, that's one thing. But when you are at home and you're thinking, right, I've got all these tasks, because I did an exercise with one of my clients recently. I asked them to prioritize, to put in order what's urgent, what's important, what's a priority, and what's less important. And I gave them a list of 10 things, and they rated them in order. And when we discussed them, it's interesting how people prioritize certain things, but are they really a priority for you? So when you get overwhelmed, it's the fact that you're trying to do too many tasks at once. This is for some people, not everyone. It could be ADHD, which affects how you complete tasks and how your brain gets overwhelmed. Thanks, Gonzala, thanks for joining. The other thing that makes people get overwhelmed as well is that they have no systems in their life, no systems in place. Life runs on systems, and you don't have to be like military precision like you would do if you're in the army, or if you're at work and you work in a structured way. But me, I need structure. I need structure in my life. I need routine. That's how I function. So if I say that my housework is 2 hours on a Saturday, then that's something which I'll probably stick to, that sort of routine. If I say I go to bed at a certain time, usually most of the time that's what I'll stick to. If I say the type of structure I need is, a good example would be, for as long as I know, I've worked from home for many years as a social worker, but then you'd go out doing visits, and then also working from home since COVID, mostly as a counsellor. I don't have the TV on unless Wimbledon's on. and the Olympics. I'm not gonna lie, because then I will put the TV on at like, hi, Maisie. I'll put the TV on when the Wimbledon's on, when Olympics is on. It will go on during the day. Any other time, and during the week especially, I can't watch daytime TV. I'll put the TV on maybe at 4, 5 o'clock. But if I'm up at this sort of time, it's just not happening. It's a distraction. And this is the thing, you know, to achieve things. I'm going to get onto like using the ladder approach in a minute. But to achieve things, you have to sometimes make yourself put systems in place, put routines in place, be consistent with them. It's similar to if I was living with someone, which I'm not, but say I was at home with family, or I was living with someone. You've put the Paralympics on Friday. I was watching the other Olympics, and even that, I wasn't watching that during the day. I'll be honest. Apart from the snowboarding events and stuff, I would specifically see when they're on. But luckily, they were all on at 6:30 and 5, so I was lucky. But I was not watching even that Olympics. I was not watching that during the daytime, except on the weekend. So putting these systems in place, you're doing it for your benefit. And the thing is, once you create systems, it becomes automatic. Because even when I'm on holiday, I've said this before, even though my routine is different, I've got freedom. I do, obviously you sleep in, you get up early, you do whatever. There were still some things which I kept in place. There were still certain structures that like were beneficial for me. And I think they will continue. As I said, if someone came and was living with me, I'm still going to do my working routine. I'm still going to have my, they're going to have to accept that. I'm never going to be someone that slacks off on my systems that have set me up, because I think that's how you do get overwhelmed. My laundry gets done probably 3 times a week. My laundry basket is empty at the minute because I did laundry yesterday and a few days before. I never have an overflowing laundry basket. It's little things like that when things start to run out. So I'm not going to be someone who waits until the toothpaste runs out. You know, I've got two sets of toothpaste ready. They're in like a little box. Same as with soap. Same as with bubble bath. This is why for me, I don't get it. Like, this is when people are like close to running out of things and then they have to go out and buy that stuff. I've always got an extra one of something, whether it's washing up liquid, soap pad, things that you use all the time. So this is why if you create systems, you won't get overwhelmed. I'm not saying it's easy to do, but it's worth doing. Because then you don't start to say, right, now I've got to do all of these things. Now I need to do all the shopping. Now I need to do the housework. Now I need to do the laundry. Now I need to finish this report that I haven't done. As a counsellor as well, but I'm also a supervisor, there's always reports that I need to do for trainee counsellors. And I'm quite clear with them. I'll say to them, send me the report with enough time for me to do it. I don't want 5 different reports that I've got to write. Luckily, I've got 2 to do. But I'm always saying to them, send them me early. So then I can plan my time and I can plan how I do things. So this is about, obviously, people getting overwhelmed. So what I'm going to talk about now is the ladder approach, because that's what this is about. So the ladder approach means whenever you have an overall goal, so it's at the top of the ladder. So sometimes I'll say to my clients, what is your main goal that you want to achieve? Or what is the main thing you want? Someone might say, I want to get married, or I want to meet someone. Someone might say, I want to get a job, because I don't have a job at the moment. Someone might say, I want to get on top of my housework. Whatever the goal is, it's at the top of the ladder. Instead of thinking about that goal that is at the top, because that's overwhelming, you start at the bottom rung. So what you would say to yourself is, what is one step on the ladder or one rung on the ladder that you need to do? And it might be, okay, I need to send my CV. This is if you want to get a job. I need to set up a profile. This is if you want to be in a relationship. So you start with the first step, and then after you've achieved that one step, you move on to the next step of the ladder. Okay, what's the next thing you need to do? I need to start looking for, do job searches every day. I need to start going on more dates. I need to start being sociable. Today when I went out, this is another video which will be on my other channel. Don't go out for breakfast. Save your money. I don't want to go on about it, but when you go out, I usually go for lunch, and I usually go out for brunch or lunch. I don't rarely go out for breakfast. I've probably done it 3 times. Every single time I've gone out for breakfast, I've been overcharged, the food hasn't been good, and I've regretted it. So now I'm going to stick to lunch. But anyway, that's another story. So what I'm saying, that is like another sociable way, because I did meet a few people actually, because I was all dressed up today. people were like stopping me and saying, "Oh, do you do vlogs?" And they were saying, "Oh, like you." This lady came up to me, random lady, asked if she could touch my jacket. I was wearing a fluffy jacket, and I said, "Yeah, sure." She was touching my jacket. So the thing I'm trying to say really is, if you start one rung at a time. And what that means is, instead of feeling overwhelmed, then you start to say, okay, I'm at the bottom rung, so achieve that, then the next, then the next. This has helped me a lot in my life, because one of the things it's helped me with is writing a book. So I've got 3 books that I've been planning to write. These books I've been going on about for about 3 years, because I started writing them, then I put them aside, then I start, and my brain sometimes works in a certain way where I start writing a book, then I think I get bored of that, then I start writing another book. So I've got 3 books that are unfinished. When I listened to a speech recently, it talks about, if you want to get something done, it's about execution. So what's the point in having lots of unfinished projects? And I already know this, but it took a speech for me to get onto it. What they said is, write 1 chapter a day. Since I listened to that speech, I've been writing 1 chapter a day, and I've now finished a lot of chapters, and I'm now focused on 1 book. I'm not looking at all the others. I'm trying to get this book finished by the end of the year, then I'll move on to the next one. And this is where this ladder approach is really useful, because I kept thinking, oh, this is overwhelming, writing this book. This got 10 chapters. It's going to take me ages. I've not got the time, and I kept putting it off. But when you do 1 chapter a day, it just feels manageable, because you feel you can tick that off the list. Another thing is getting qualifications, because this is another thing that people put off because it becomes overwhelming. Someone will say to themselves, right, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a lawyer, I want to become this. But then they start thinking, oh, it's going to cost too much money, it's going to take 5 years to achieve it. I'm not going to have the time to study and this. So they taught themselves out of it. But if you think about it, when you're studying or doing a qualification, I go back to when I was doing my social work degree, when I was doing my counselling qualification. Both of those took 4 years. Then when I was doing my coaching, that was like succinct into, I think it was like 5 months. No, I did a 5-day intensive, and then to become a counselling supervisor, that took 5 months, because I did that intensively. If I would have said, oh, this is going to cost me loads of money, I'm going to have to travel to another city to do my university degree, I'm going to have to pay for books, I'm going to have to do this, I probably wouldn't have done it. And even looking back now, like that was then when I did all these qualifications. Now, I probably would have talked myself out of it. I would have said, you know what, I don't really need to do a qualification. I've got this. So the ladder approach helps with that, because you start at the bottom, you say to yourself, well, the top main goal is to get the piece of paper, is to get the qualification. That can never be taken away from you. What people have to realise is, once you get that piece of paper, you've got that for life. No one can ever say to you, you don't have a degree, you don't have a diploma, you don't have a qualification in A, B or C. So isn't it worth the sacrifice? So the little sacrifice is the first step of the ladder, is enrolling on the course. The next step of the ladder is finding the money to pay for the course, where you have to find the money for, or you can do both of those in different ways. The next step of the ladder is the studying, but it keeps going. Life is a big step on the ladder, to be honest, because you should never just be stuck at the bottom of the ladder. You should never be in the middle. You can always go up, keep going up and up. You might go back down because maybe you've lost your job. So then you have to start again. But you can still keep doing step by step. There should never be a point where you just stay at the bottom and you just say to yourself, I'm not going to climb the ladder. The ladder is just representing. It's not representing success or anything like that. It's just movement, evolving, So what the thing to think about with this whole idea is to break things down into bite size, and that's all it is. It's just a different way of looking at it in that way. Everything doesn't have to be the big thing at the top, because that's what's getting people overwhelmed. They're getting stressed about. Another good example is when it comes to money, budgeting, bank statements. I always ask for my bank statements to be sent by paper. I can go online anytime I like, and I get notifications telling me when stuff has been charged. So I'm really on track of what money I have and I don't have. Being able to look at my bank statements every month, and actually, because for my accountant as well, I circled the business expenses. I know that I'm more on track and more aware of my spending habits when I'm looking in black and white at all the purchases I've made, over Christmas, I said this to someone, it was terrible. It was like I was playing some game, the video game, the amount of just ping, 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 because you know you've got contactless. You're not always aware of it at the time, but when you look at your bank statements, you see it. So this is why using a ladder approach means that you are saying you're keeping on top of things. You're stopping yourself from becoming overwhelmed because you're constantly aware of things. You're constantly, putting systems in place to help you to move forward. So all I'm going to say then is really it's about dividing things into manageable steps. It's about looking at something when you look at something as a whole, it's more daunting. So you're just breaking it down, and it's visualizing yourself on the bottom of a ladder, and what's at the top is the thing that you want, and how you have to get there is one rung at a time. This will make your life a lot easier because you're not viewing it as being a mountain that you can't climb. You could use another analogy of the mountain as well. People who have to climb Everest, they're not thinking, oh, this is going to take me a few weeks. This is going to be, the weather's going to keep changing. Oh, I'm going to need this amount of oxygen. They're thinking that the peak is the thing at the top, but they have to get through at one step at a time. And that's what most people, if they're mountain climbers, would tell you, that it's one step at a time. It's got to get to base camp, then they have to relax, then they got to move forward and that sort of thing. They're not thinking of the whole thing in its entirety. That is what gets people overwhelmed. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you, Maisie, and thank you, Ganza Lucky, and everyone else that joined on this live stream. I really appreciate it. Hope you found this video useful. And I will be doing lots of videos as well around coaching, because career coaching is one of the areas that I'm going to be going into soon. And so look out for that. And thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your week.